Have you ever wondered why some words can light a fire in someone's soul while others barely leave a trace? In the most intimate moments, when two bodies are close and the world is quiet, what you say becomes more powerful than anything you do. It's not about having the perfect body or being flawless in bed. It's about making him feel something he hasn't felt before. Most women underestimate the power of their voice in those moments, but your voice, when used with intention, can become the most seductive thing he's ever known. It can turn him on not just physically but emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and that's what keeps him coming back. That's what makes him obsessed. That's what makes you unforgettable. Men crave more than touch. Deep down, they want to feel desired, admired, and chosen, not just for their strength, but for how they make you feel. Every man, no matter how confident he seems, wants to know that he's the one who moves you in ways no one else can. And it's not about being overly explicit or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about being present, being real, and knowing how to speak to the part of him that the world never sees. The part that hides behind control and silence. The part that longs to be wanted in a way that feels primal and rare. That's the part you awaken when you say the right words. Words that go beyond the surface and touch something deeper. When you're in bed with him and your voice is low, soft, full of certainty, you're not just saying things. You're creating an experience. You're writing memories into his nervous system. The male brain doesn't forget how a woman makes him feel when she's both sensual and emotionally connected. You don't need scripts. You need truth. You need presence. You need to mean what you say. Because when you do, your words don't just arouse. They stay. Long after the night ends. Long after the physical fades. They replay in his head like a secret melody only he gets to hear. And when you understand that kind of power, you stop chasing love and start embodying it. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share will change how you communicate in bed forever. Not with gimmicks, not with fake tricks, but with real, soul-deep connection. You'll learn exactly what to say to turn him on in ways he didn't know he needed. You'll understand how to make him feel wanted, not just in his body, but in his being. And most importantly, you'll discover how to unlock a version of yourself that is bold, magnetic, and unforgettable. This isn't about control, it's about awakening. If you've ever wanted to know the kind of words that make a man crave you even in your silence, then don't look away. You're about to speak to his soul, and when you do, he'll never forget the sound of you. He wants more than your body. He wants to feel chosen, needed, desired in a way that penetrates deeper than skin. Most men walk through the world with invisible armor, tough, silent, appearing unfazed, yet underneath they crave to feel like the reason you lose control. The truth is, men are starving for emotional affirmation. They may never admit it, but inside, every man wants to know that he's not just touching your body, but reaching into your soul. When you speak to him in bed, your words can become the mirror he's never dared to look into, the one that reflects back his worth, his power, his effect on you. That reflection is what arouses him far beyond any physical act. That's where the real craving begins. You hold a sacred power. Your voice carries weight, especially in the quiet of intimacy. When you whisper something personal, something real, something soaked in your truth, it bypasses his defenses. His breath slows, his guard lowers, his focus narrows. He listens, not with his ears, but with his entire being. And what you give him in that moment isn't just arousal, it's validation, it's intimacy. It's an experience of being wanted without needing to perform or prove anything. Most men are conditioned to chase approval through action. But when you make him feel worthy just by being close to you, it touches something primal. It grounds him. It awakens him. It turns him on in a way that isn't just sexual, it's soul deep. The reason most words fall flat is because they're said without intention. But when your voice carries purpose, when it's born from your inner certainty, your words no longer stay on your lips, they sink into his memory. He begins to associate your voice with belonging, with trust, with power, with surrender, because now you're not just speaking to his desires, you're commanding them. And yet it never feels forced, it never feels like control. It feels like surrender to something bigger than both of you, a connection where his identity as a man is not questioned but confirmed. And in that confirmation his desire for you multiplies. This is why language matters more than people realize. It's not about dirty talk, it's about meaningful talk, words that don't just arouse him for the night, but brand themselves into his mind, into his heart. When you learn how to speak with emotional fire and feminine power, You begin to unlock a version of him that even he doesn't fully know exists. He becomes more open, more present, more hungry for you, not just in body but in spirit. And you step into your full power, because now you're not waiting to be desired, you're creating desire, not with your appearance, but with your words. And when you speak with that kind of energy, there's no competition. You become the fantasy, the safe place, the addiction. You become unforgettable. You make me feel things I didn't know I could feel. Say those words in the stillness of the moment, with your breath warm against his skin, and watch what it does to him. This is not about flattery. It's not about feeding his ego. It's about letting him know he has power, not over you but within you. It tells him that he reaches you, moves you, affects you in ways that feel new, intense, unforgettable. And for a man who walks through life often feeling unseen, that acknowledgement hits deeper than touch. It tells him he's not ordinary, he's not replaceable. He is your discovery, your experience, your awakening. And there is no greater turn-on than knowing you have that kind of impact on someone's soul. Most men crave to be the reason you lose your composure, the reason your guard drops, the reason your voice trembles not from fear, but from feeling. When you tell him that he makes you feel something you've never felt before, it breaks through every layer of numbness he didn't know he had. It's not about exaggeration, it's about honesty. If he touches a part of you that's never been reached, if he makes you feel safe and wild at the same time, say it, not to impress him, not to manipulate. Say it because it's real. Say it because you want him to know he matters, not just in your bed, but in your being. Not just for what he does, but for how he makes you feel. This sentence awakens his sense of purpose. A man who knows he's unlocking something rare in you will never forget the moment you told him. He'll remember your tone, the look in your eyes, the way your breath caught between syllables. Because it's not just a compliment, it's a moment of vulnerability. It says, I trust you with my depth. I trust you with my emotion. I trust you enough to show you what you're doing to me. And that kind of emotional nakedness is what most men long for but never get. It's not the body that binds a man. It's the feeling that he's the only one who can reach you like this, the only one who can make you tremble with truth. When you speak this way, you're not just giving him pleasure, you're giving him significance. And that is the most magnetic energy a woman can bring into any intimate space. When a man feels significant in your world, he devotes himself to you in ways that feel unshakable. You shift from a moment to a memory, from a connection to a craving, and suddenly your voice becomes the echo in his mind, long after the night fades. Speak those words not as a performance, but as a gift, because when you do, you give him something no one else can, the feeling of being enough to awaken something sacred in someone else. That is unforgettable. That is irresistible. That is power. I love how safe and dangerous you make me feel at the same time. This sentence is not a contradiction. It's the truth that unlocks his deepest masculine instincts. Every man wants to be the one who holds your safety and your surrender in the same breath. He wants to know he's the place where you feel protected, but also the one who makes your heart race with anticipation. This sentence tells him that he's more than just a comfort to you. He's a force, a thrill, a fire you're not afraid to burn in. And that kind of duality is intoxicating. It tells him he's not just present, he's powerful, not just gentle, but unforgettable. When you speak these words, you awaken both the lover and the warrior inside him. He begins to feel like he's not just touching your skin, but commanding your energy. You're telling him that he doesn't have to choose between being strong or soft, because you see him as both. And that is rare. In a world that tries to box men into roles, you're telling him he's everything at once, that he makes you feel held without being tamed, desired without being dominated. You make him feel like the man he's always wanted to be, the man who ignites your desire, while still being the one you feel safest to fall apart with. Most men don't hear words like this. They hear appreciation for what they do, but rarely for how they make someone feel on a soul level. But this sentence is different. It says, I trust you with my vulnerability, and I crave you with my fire. I feel safe in your presence and wild in your touch. That is the paradox every man dreams of becoming. To be the calm and the chaos, the protector and the temptation. And when you speak it, it doesn't just arouse him, it redefines how he sees himself through your eyes. You elevate him. You make him feel like he's more than just a man in your bed. He's the storm you choose to dance in. This is where emotional arousal becomes physical, where the psychological need to be seen, admired, and respected collides with desire. He feels like your favorite danger and your deepest security all at once. And that kind of feeling is rare. It's not something he forgets, it's something he chases. Because the woman who sees him this clearly, who speaks to both his power and his purpose, is the woman he'll never stop craving. You become more than a partner. You become his mirror, his mystery, his magnet. All because you had the courage to say something that was real, raw, and reverent. Speak with power. Speak with softness. Speak with the kind of clarity that makes a man drop his walls and rise into the fullness of who he is. Because when he feels like he is both your safe place and your greatest temptation, he will never want to be anywhere else but in your arms. When a man feels both trusted and desired, something deep inside him begins to transform. He starts to crave more than just connection. He begins to crave purpose within that connection. He doesn't just want to be in your presence. He wants to be the reason your walls fall, your body responds, your soul awakens. This isn't about control. This is about emotional ignition. When you speak to both his strength and his mystery, he no longer sees intimacy as a physical act. He experiences it as a sacred exchange. And when that realization hits, he stops performing. He starts feeling, fully, deeply, unapologetically. That's where real arousal lives. Not in the body alone, but in the meaning behind every glance, every breath, every word you dare to speak. This is the kind of energy that shifts the entire frequency between you. You're not just partners, you become portals for each other's awakening. He doesn't just want to take you, he wants to enter into the space where all of you, your desire, your trust, your fire, meets all of him. This isn't about playing a role or trying to impress. This is about embodying truth, letting your energy be felt without restraint, letting your voice carry intention that stirs something buried inside him, because once he experiences that kind of connection, nothing else satisfies. No empty touch, no surface-level pleasure, only you and the way you make him feel seen without needing to prove himself. Every time you speak from that place of feminine clarity, you are giving him permission to be more than a man. You are giving him permission to be vulnerable without shame, powerful without guilt, dominant without fear of rejection. That freedom you give him becomes the very reason he's drawn to you with everything in him. He doesn't have to split himself in half to be enough for you. You invite all of him, and in doing so, you become unforgettable. Not because of what you offer him physically, but because of how you make him feel emotionally. You make him feel chosen, not for what he gives, but for who he is. This is where the emotional climax builds, not in movement but in meaning, not in noise but in truth. When you meet him in that space between safety and surrender, his body may react, but his soul responds. That response is rare, it's powerful, it's addictive, and it's the kind of response that makes him think about you at the most random times, because no one else ever made him feel this complete, not with their body, but with their presence, their words, their trust. That is your power. And when you learn to use it with love, with boldness, with softness, there is no limit to the depth you can reach, because a woman who knows how to move his mind becomes far more irresistible than the one who only touches his skin. Speak like that, and you'll never need to compete for his attention again. There is a moment, quiet and electric, when your presence alone changes the air between you. It's not just what you do, it's who you are in that space, the way you breathe, the way your energy wraps around him, the way your words speak not to his ears but to the man beneath the surface. That man, the one who rarely feels seen, begins to awaken. He begins to realize he doesn't have to be perfect, powerful, or performative. He only has to be present. Because when you speak with truth, with intention, with vulnerability and certainty all wrapped into one, you remind him that he's not just desired, he's understood. And that changes everything. That's the beginning of real connection, the kind that isn't measured by minutes or movements, but by meaning, by how deeply you allow yourself to be felt. This is where your voice becomes something more. It becomes a trigger, a rhythm, a permission slip for him to drop every mask he's ever worn. When you speak the right words at the right time, with energy that is calm yet charged, feminine yet fearless, it sends a signal to his nervous system that says, "You're allowed to be real here. You're allowed to feel here." And that feeling doesn't just arouse him, it anchors him. It makes him feel like he finally belongs somewhere, not just in your bed, but in your world. He stops chasing approval. He stops reaching for performance. He starts reaching for you, the real you, the present you, the woman who isn't afraid to take up space in intimacy with her voice as much as her body. When he feels that kind of depth in your presence, You become his craving, because now it's not about pleasure, it's about identity. He begins to feel like the man he's always wanted to be, simply because you see him as that man. And that kind of reflection builds a bond far stronger than chemistry. It builds emotional trust. It builds arousal that doesn't fade with time. It creates a memory that lingers in his body, in his heart, in his very sense of self. And that memory is what keeps him coming back, not because you're trying to keep him, but because you've given him something no one else has. The freedom to be both strong and soft, desired and safe, wild and wanted. That freedom turns him on more than anything he could ever imagine. Let your voice become the extension of your energy. Let your words carry the weight of your desire and the grace of your presence. You don't need to say a lot. You just need to say what matters. Speak like you believe in the power of your impact. Speak like your words are spells, because they are. And when you use them with clarity, love, and boldness, you no longer chase emotional intimacy. You command it. And in that space, he doesn't just want your body. He wants all of you again and again. There is nothing more arousing to a man than feeling emotionally chosen. When you speak with honesty, when you let him feel the depth of your desire, it awakens a level of intimacy that eclipses physical touch. It tells him he is more than wanted. He is needed, craved, irreplaceable. Most men move through life without ever hearing that they're enough just as they are. But when you give him that affirmation through your words, when you let him feel your truth instead of perform affection, something inside him softens, something opens. He doesn't just become aroused, he becomes emotionally naked, and in that surrender, he stops seeking approval and starts grounding himself in the experience of you. That's when connection deepens. That's when his desire turns into devotion. Speak from the place inside you that doesn't fear vulnerability, the part that knows your voice is your power, not your weakness. Let your words be deliberate, slow, intentional. You're not just saying something, you're giving him an experience. You're inviting him into your world, your emotion, your electricity. This isn't about flattery, this is about energy. A man doesn't want empty praise. He wants to feel your desire pierce through his mind and into his spirit. He wants to be your risk, your relief, your favorite contradiction. And when your words carry that kind of weight, he doesn't just react, he responds fully, with all of him. Because now you've become the space where he feels most alive. That aliveness is what every man is chasing, even if he doesn't know it. He isn't just looking for beauty, he's searching for sensation, for meaning, for the kind of emotional tension that makes him forget the world outside your presence. And the fastest path to that experience isn't in your body, it's in your voice. When you speak with emotional intelligence, with unapologetic truth, you become a mirror that reflects back his power, his masculinity, his mystery, and his softness all at once. That reflection is rare. That reflection makes him addicted, not to your approval, but to your presence, because now he feels seen, and nothing draws a man deeper than the feeling of being fully seen. This is why words matter more than most realize. You're not just filling silence, you're sculpting intimacy. Every syllable has the power to elevate him or distance him. And when you choose elevation, when you speak with a kind of clarity that tells him he's not just another body, you are building a foundation of emotional safety, wrapped in raw attraction. That's the balance every man dreams of but rarely finds. And when he finds it in you, he stops wandering, he stops drifting, he roots himself in you. So speak without fear, speak with passion, speak like you know exactly who you are. Because when you do, your words don't just turn him on, they transform the space between you. They create a bond that goes beyond arousal and lands in the deepest part of who he is. When he feels emotionally seen, something shifts in the way he looks at you. You become more than attraction. You become his calm, his fire, his craving, and his clarity. Not because of what you wear, not because of how you move, but because of how you reach him. Because of how your voice makes him feel understood, respected, wanted in a way the world never offers. And the more you speak from that place of emotional honesty, the more he leans in. He doesn't just want to be close to you, he wants to be inside the meaning of your presence. He begins to crave your truth more than your touch, because your truth is what awakens his depth. That's when real intimacy begins, not with a body, but with a connection that silences everything else. This kind of connection does not need noise, it needs intention, it needs awareness, it needs your willingness to trust the value of your own voice. When you use it not to control, but to connect, you create safety without sacrificing intensity. You become his home and his edge. You offer him something he can't find anywhere else, an experience where he feels like a man and a human at the same time. Strong but not hardened, desired but not objectified, needed but never used, and it's your voice that brings that balance to life. It's not about being perfect, it's about being real. The way you speak becomes the gateway to the part of him that's always been hidden beneath the surface, the part that aches to feel chosen in a way that doesn't require effort, just existence. That is the power you carry when you learn how to speak with depth. Your words become his grounding force, his source of emotional stability and desire. He begins to associate your voice with peace, with passion, with the relief of finally being enough. You stop being someone he wants to impress and become someone he trusts with his truth. That trust unlocks his desire at a level most never reach. It's not about what you say, it's about how deeply you believe what you're saying. Speak from conviction, not from fear. Speak from presence, not performance. Let your voice carry the confidence of knowing that he wants more than beauty, he wants truth, and if you can give him that, you become unforgettable. A woman who speaks with emotional precision becomes his anchor, not the kind that weighs him down, but the one that keeps him grounded through everything, the one who reminds him of who he is without judgment, without pressure. And that reminder doesn't just arouse him, it frees him, it pulls him into a version of himself that only you can access. That's not about seduction, that's about soul. And when you reach that part of him, he will hold on, not because he needs to, but because he chooses to, because you've become the voice he never knew he was searching for. When a man chooses to open himself to you, when he lets your words in without resistance, you are witnessing something sacred. You are being trusted with his depth, a part of him he rarely shows the world, not because he doesn't want to, but because very few know how to hold it. Your voice, when used with grace and certainty, becomes the safety that allows him to be wild, the quiet that gives him strength, the feeling that he is finally wanted, not for what he gives, but for who he is. That is the kind of connection that transforms attraction into obsession, desire into devotion. Because when a man feels emotionally safe in your presence, every part of him relaxes, and in that release he doesn't just desire you, he bonds with you, his soul recognizes you. Most women underestimate this power. They focus on performance, perfection, or pleasing. But none of those things hold the weight of emotional clarity or keeps a man thinking of you long after you've left. Isn't what you did. It's how you made him feel in the space between his heart and his hunger. If you made him feel seen there, if you made him feel worthy there, if you touched his mind while touching his body, he will never forget you. Because now, you are not just a memory, you are a feeling. And feelings like that do not fade. They stay imprinted in his body like a rhythm he can't stop needing. This is where real magnetism begins, not from trying harder, but from speaking softer, from trusting that your vulnerability, when expressed with strength, becomes the most attractive energy in the room. You don't need to impress a man who's already captivated by your authenticity. You only need to stay rooted in it. When you say what's true, when you let your words reflect your raw emotion without apology, you become untouchable. Not because you're distant, but because you're real. And real is rare. Real is the reason he stops looking elsewhere. Real is the reason his desire becomes focused, loyal, unshakable. Let him feel your voice like a current beneath his skin. Let it hold weight, not volume. Let it pull him deeper into you, not because you demand him, but because you understand him. That understanding is what sets you apart. Not every woman knows how to reach a man's mind while holding his body. Not every woman knows how to say less, but mean more. But when you do, when your words are rooted in emotional precision, when they carry truth without hesitation, you activate a longing inside him that no surface-level connection can satisfy. You become the one he returns to in his thoughts, in his dreams, in the quiet moments when he finally lets himself feel. Speak to that space in him. Speak with power, with softness, with purpose. Because when you do, you stop being an option. You become his only clarity in a world full of noise.